Bernard Tobin here at the Southwest Ag Conference. I'm going to talk now to James McKinlay. James has got a tremendous approach to how he farms and farm succession. It's not necessarily succession for his farm, but it's succession for agriculture. James, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you very much, and certainly a privilege for me to be here today and talk about the young people that we're working with, and certainly I'm very passionate about that, and to me it's very rewarding for us and something that I really feel committed that agriculture in general is going to have to step up to the plate if we want a young generation of farmers moving forward. So critical time, I think.
Now, you farm in Ravena, Ontario, Grey Bruce area. Just tell us about the farm, and then we'll get on to what you're doing there.
Yeah, so we farm in the northeastern part of Grey County, and it's town of the Blue Mountains, and we're right at the Blue Mountain Ski Resort, so the part that they don't ski on, we're farming. There's certainly been some challenges for me in acquiring land because land price has really been dictated by non-farm owners, so people coming to the Blue Mountains for a playground since the late 60s or early 70s. But it also created an opportunity for me to get started farming because land rents were actually quite reasonable. So I'm actually renting land from 37 different landlords, and we have been able to acquire some properties over the years since we started farming. And I rented my first farm when I was in grade 12, and certainly gone from there, and then we've also purchased some land on Manitoulin Island just because the land price is more affordable.
Now, you mentioned you rented your first farm when you were in grade 12, and I want to build on that because you've done a lot of work with young people over the years. So I think you mentioned 45, 47 years ago, you started working with young people on the farm, and that's led to the concept that you have today to get young people involved as employees, as partners on your farm, and give them an opportunity to get involved in agriculture. Give us a Coles notes on your approach and your program.
Okay. Yes, so had the opportunity to work with young teenagers for 47 years this year, and when I rented my first farm, that was my ticket into going to Centralia College. I was able to rent that farm, make square bales, and needed help to do that. And then I guess that has evolved, that we've continued doing that, hiring young people, and typically they came at age 12, 13. When they got to be 14, 15, they were too close to getting a license, didn't want to drive tractors on the road, all those sorts of good stuff. And then once they had their license at 16, 17, they moved on to other opportunities because they had transportation and probably better paying jobs. So and we considered that a privilege to be a launching pad for those young people, and that worked extremely well. And I guess the transition, or what transpired for us, was the last 4 or 5 years, we had those 17-year-olds that didn't go anyplace. And they were very valuable employees. Many of them had started at age 12, knew the fields, knew the routines at our place. So certainly they had a real leg up on any new employee that you would start. So we had to come up with some way of retaining those people, motivating those people, and retaining, and to me they all had potential. So from my perspective, wanted to retain them in agriculture, wanted to give them those first steps and the opportunity to build equity.
So James, let's build on that. I want to talk about the fact that obviously you're grooming employees, but you're also grooming future farmers. Talk about the partnership program. I know you've got some young people who've got partnerships and shares in cattle. They're buying their own equipment and working through the farm to sort of build equity. Talk about that.
Okay, so right now we're currently working with 4 young people. They're all currently 20 and 21. And this probably started 4 or 5 years ago with one of our employees who started at age 12, and he was in the 16, 17-year-old age bracket, the time when we normally launch them. And I sensed he wasn't going anywhere, and he really vocalized that he was really happy where he was and wanted to continue working with us. And I guess, how do we motivate and how do we get a piece of that passion? So they're from his family has a very small acreage, and so we actually offered up if he wanted cows on shares. And again, we started very modestly. I'm talking 2 cows is what he actually started with. They were kind of cabbing out of sync for us. They worked very well for him. So that's how we started actually with Jason. And then over time, there were some other opportunities came up. We actually sold him some cows, and we financed them. And then I guess his big step came in the fall of 17, and he was actually heading off to Ridgetown College here. And I recognized that there was a herd dispersal at Katy, a local sales barn. And so there were some tall cows. We had an interest in them. So Joe and I went and had a viewing of the cows. And in the course of the visit, talking with the owner of the cattle and the land, and it quickly came out that he wasn't selling the farm. He didn't want the farm to be plowed up and into cash crops. And he loved the cows, actually. He just wanted the flexibility to get away 2 or 3 weeks of the year. So I guess that got the gray matter working and the wheels turning. Joe and I talked about it some more. And again, often opportunities don't come at the perfect time. But I think we have to recognize them as opportunities always. So Joe and I talked about it. We talked with Jason, and then Robert, our son, and Jason went for a viewing and a visit as well. And then ultimately, Jason and his mom went too. And we were able to formulate an agreement with the owner of the cows. If we purchased the cows, they came back home to the barn they left, to the yard they left. And actually, the owner agreed to feed the cattle for Jason because he was just embarking on his first year at Ridgetown. So second year of that partnership, Jason made the feed again. The former owner of the cows, fed those cows and managed those cows when Jason was away through the week at Ridgetown. So this is in 19, the fall of 19. That's actually the first year that Jason is feeding the cows through the winter. So I think that opportunity has worked really well for Jason. And again, our goal in this is to provide him the opportunity to build some equity. So the cows on shares was a real easy way, but that didn't show up on any cash flow or balance sheet for Jason when hopefully at some point he'll be going to the bank and wanting to make bigger purchases. So most recently we just actually sold him another set of heifers, and again they're on a 5-year term as well, so we're kind of the banker in this. So that's how Jason got set up, and he has incredible abilities to fix and repair equipment, incredible abilities. He owns a $3,000 round baler and a $450 hay bind, and he can make that stuff all work. So, and again, our goal was to encourage him in agriculture so that there's young people coming in at agriculture, and also the fact that then we get a really valuable employee when he's not working on his own farm.
So Jason is one example. How many young people have you got involved in different share structures and different levels?
Yeah, so we have a total of 4 young people that we're working with currently. 2 of them are actually formed a legal partnership. They got married, so it's a total of 4 that we're actually working with. Started out as 3, and then the one, and actually quite interesting, the one couple that were married when they were 18, they actually have a branded beef program. So they're marketing their own beef right to consumers using social media, using other farming market type outlets to market their beef. And actually they were mentored. We were able to hook them up with the Mike Buis family here at Chatham, and they helped mentor them as well when they're embarking on the meat program.
Now, James, this is a blank page. There's no template for what you're doing. Talk about, I guess, what you tell farmers when they're interested in your story, and maybe how they can get involved or come up with a program and build on what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's actually the intent of what I was trying to share today. And I was very clear on the outset that I don't have a magical recipe for this, like increasing bushels of corn or whatever. But I think we all, if we want a future generation in agriculture, we as the seniors in this business are going to have to mentor and support the younger people. And I don't have a magical answer for a template. We're kind of fine-tuning it as we go. We're trying to make it work for our operation, but also their operation as well. So there's each template, I think, will be different. Each arrangement will be different. I guess the one fundamental thing as this continues to evolve and grow is the importance to have some sort of a paper trail so everybody has an understanding where we're at. Because these people, when they start off as employment, they're very dear friends, and I don't want to ever sever that friendship. So I think we need very clear understanding and expectations how this moves forward.
I was talking with some people earlier, and they were talking about a group, Farming Forever, Forever Farming, which is now forming lawyers, a lot of different people who are sort of like getting maybe a peer group. Can you tell us about that? I know it's not formal yet, but it might be something that we'll see in the future that will, as I say, help people or take this message forward.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. It kind of was a spin-off. I had the opportunity to speak at the Farm Smart program at Guelph a year ago, and another producer sat in on my presentation, actually a cash cropper, so what I was talking about didn't directly relate to what he was doing, but he was doing something very innovative with a young non-family member as well, and actually formalized that into a corporation with he and this young farmer, and then a separate corporation for he and his family members that were that were not interested in farming. So we just got together informally. Certainly the financial institutions were well represented. People that were doing similar things to what Joan and I were doing were involved. And then we had other people that were succession planning, coaches, taxation management, and then just other out-of-the-box thinkers that we have. So we do not have a formal structure here. We kind of coined the frame Farming Forever because I guess that's a huge motivator for me. It keeps me interested in driving forward and thinking about the next generation. And I think other people share that passion as well. And I don't think our situation's unique. We happen to have a son that I'm fully expecting will be involved in our operation. But that's not the case in all farmer operations, and I think there's some opportunities here for young people to partner with people that have experience and perhaps willing to help with some of the initial financing.
And I know in the future people can look for Farming Forever, but in the meantime, they can always reach out to you, James, at Silver Springs Farms in Ravena.
Absolutely, yeah. We're very passionate about this. I'm going to do whatever I can to try to encourage and foster people establishing partnerships and relationships. So anybody out there, and I don't know who you are, but certainly feel free to contact us, and I'm sure you'll find us on a website someplace. So,
James, a great story. Thanks for sharing it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.